apologize for my tardiness. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Tonight's Escondido City Council meeting. Please rise for a moment of reflection and remain standing for the flag salute.
Yes, everyone, please join me in a moment of reflection. We come together tonight to say thank you. Thank you for the privilege, the blessing, the honor it is to serve here in the city of Escondido. We come together as a diverse community, a community of different backgrounds, different beliefs, different presence, and different futures, yet one common goal, that is the betterment of this city. We come together to seek guidance, wisdom, and discernment during deliberations that transpire this evening. In doing so, we lift up Councilmember Morosco, Councilmember Garcia, Councilmember Martinez, Deputy Mayor Garcia, and Mayor White. May they be granted peace and wisdom as they lead our city into a bright and prosperous future. Amen.
Thank you. We'll call this meeting to order and do a quick roll call. Councilmember Morosco.
Present.
Councilmember Garcia.
Present.
Councilmember Martinez.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Garcia.
Here.
And I, Mayor White, am here. There was no closed session this evening. We'll move on to our presentations. And first up is the Clean Energy Alliance. The time is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor White, Deputy Mayor Garcia, members of the City Council. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm Greg Way, the CEO of Clean Energy Alliance, of which Escondido is a member, and we appreciate that. I'm going to go over some recent adoption of the budget and a rate-setting process, and then I'll give you some overview of the programs that CEA offers and what we're trying to do for not only for all our member agencies, but for members of your community as well. So this City Council or your predecessors elected to be a part of CEA in late 2021, 2022. And did so based on a variety of factors, one of which was to have local control. That's one of the keystones of community choice energy, is to bring energy choices to the communities that they serve, to have local officials making elected officials making decisions for our board, on which I believe 2 members I'm looking at right now of your council have been seated at various times. And they also have community representation by virtue of the Community Advisory Committee, and you have 2 members from the community who sit on that board. That committee. The benefits also extend to your communities. We have a policy by which the revenues that are generated by CEA will be apportioned to the communities by virtue of their load size. I will say that Escondido has the second largest number of accounts in CEA territory, second to now Oceanside. And then, of course, the climate action plans of the various agencies, including yours, have identified this as an opportunity to meet the climate action plan goals established in your climate action plan. So where are we right now in terms of participation with the community? The participation rate is quite high, 94.8% in Escondido. The full territory participation rate is just slightly below that, as you have approximately 53,600 accounts in this city, and you have the option. There's 3 products that you have to choose from. 2 are up there. You can opt down to a 50% renewable. You have 123 accounts that have done that. Or if you would wish to have a higher percentage of renewable purchased on your behalf, you can opt up to 100%. The default energy product for everybody, at which most people are enrolled, is 75% carbon-free energy. So I'm going to go through a high-level overview of the budget for this coming fiscal year, which just started. So the goals and objectives that we set are to make sure that we provide enough revenue to support our costs. This will be the first full year that we're serving Oceanside and Vista, the last 2 cities at the current established territory to join CEA. Our energy costs are based on forecasts that we do on a regular basis with experts in the field, and they reflect current market pricing. We have staffing and administrative budget. However, there is no plan at this point to increase our staffing. Right now, we now have a staff of 6 people. I am one of those 6. There is an assumed cost increase for staff and administration of 25% per year, but again, at this point in time, there is no plan to increase staff. And then we also have a variety of consultants that we consult with, experts in the energy field, to provide us with procurement and advising us on SDG&E's rate forecasts and the like. And then for the first time, we're going to have a program budget. It's a modest budget of $600,000 that's built in to be able to give back to the communities we serve in terms of program opportunities. We've been very challenged, as every load-serving entity in this state this year, with the cost of renewable energy. They have gone up dramatically. These are a little bit hard to focus on, but in the upper left-hand corner is the price of resource adequacy. Think of resource adequacy, or RA as it's known, as extra energy that every load-serving entity needs to have in their portfolio for those really hot, high-demand days of summer, or any time there's a critical peak in energy demand. That has become a very expensive product to get because of the number of load-serving entities. You can see just since January 2023, the increase particularly in the summer months when we have those peak demands, is over 200%. On the upper right-hand corner, you saw just regular renewable energy that we buy in the market on a regular basis on behalf of our customers. That has gone up in that same time period, 275%. And then on the bottom, carbon-free energy, and let me just make a small distinction here that carbon-free is distinctive from renewable only in as much as large hydroelectric power is not considered quote-unquote renewable for a variety of reasons, which I will not go into, but it is carbon-free. That has gone up dramatically as well. So where does that leave us? And this is also a difficult chart to look at, but just look at the first column, which shows you if in our current projections with the cost of energy going up, the bottom line is the change in net position in net fiscal 25, were we to do nothing and just not cover our costs, is a negative $13.7 million. Keeping in mind we have not raised our rates since February of 2023, so going on a year and a half without having raised rates, which is another one of our policy objectives in rate setting, is to keep stabilized rates. So what are our other policy objectives? High level, we're going to manage our energy portfolio to make sure that we keep costs as low as possible. We're going to slower increase in renewable energy, meaning the state of California has mandates where your renewable energy portfolio has to increase over time to 100% in 2045. We've pulled the reins back a little bit on our projections, so that's something we're doing. We're looking at new energy supply options to provide, and we're also looking at a very conservative approach to administrative costs. And by the way, one thing I wanted to mention is that our administrative costs are only 3% of our total budget. Coming from the world of municipal government, where staff costs is sometimes well over 50% of your budget, this is something that I'm really cognizant of, trying to keep moderate levels of staffing costs. And then, of course, build reserves to mitigate energy price increases, which then translates to community benefit programs for our customers. So again, looking at the rate summary based on this evaluation of our budget, first of all, let me say that CEA, by policy, had tried to establish a policy in our Joint Powers Authority Agreement of 2% savings over SDG&E, the incumbent IOU. We've been able to do that, in fact, exceeded that for quite a bit of time before January 1st of this year, when SDG&E quite dramatically lowered both its transmission delivery rates and its generation rates. This chart shows that over the course of time, Escondido customers have saved a lot of money leading up into that January 1st time frame. On average, about $120 per average residential customer, and then we'll continue to essentially erode that savings to December 24th, December of 2024, so the end of this year. So effectively, Escondido customers have been receiving a benefit, and then that benefit, by virtue of that rate change, will subside or evaporate, if you will, by December of this year. Again, we don't control SDG&E's rates, and they're going through a current rate proceeding right now that we're monitoring with our consultants, and we don't know where their rates are going to land on January 1st of 2025, but we are continuing to monitor that. This shows an annualized variance, and let me just say that obviously CEA is in the business of energy generation or energy procurement, which is roughly on average about 20 to 30% of your bill, your energy bill, your electricity bill. The rest is delivery. So the lion's share of the bill on average is the delivery charges, which we don't impact. SDG&E still is responsible for that. What this shows is a combined overall average for the member agencies. And what you will notice, unfortunately, is that the average monthly difference to SDG&E is relatively small, except for Escondido, San Marcos. And you'll see up in the top level, you see VY 2020, 22, and 23. That stands for vintage year. And that dictates what your power charge indifference adjustment is, that otherwise, or sometimes known as an exit fee. That's to recover costs for contracts that the departing load has been contracted for, they no longer need, and so that customer base now needs to pay back SDG&E for that energy they procured on your behalf, which they are no longer going to serve to you. That's what the power, in high level, that's what the PCIA is. They change from year to year. Part of the ERA forecast, the SDG&E rate forecast going on right now, is to identify what that PCIA will be for each of these vintages. The good news is that Escondido's is projected to go down quite a bit, by about 20% with their first filing. What we've seen in PCIAs for other territories is they've started out escalating, which seems a little bit sort of counterintuitive. For generally speaking, over time, those energy contracts that SDG&E bought should erode away and go away, and your PCIA goes down, which will happen. But typically, there's a little bit of an escalation and then a sharp decrease, which is what we've seen with all the other member agencies. We're expecting the PCIA for Escondido and San Marcos to do the same thing, and within the next 2 years, level off and be about equal with all our other member agencies. So, unfortunately, that PCIA is still creating a slight increase in the difference between us and SDG&E. So again, our rate setting priorities, as I mentioned earlier, rate stability is one, minimize rate changes over time. One of the key priorities that we looked at and our board was quite supportive of is this idea of bill smoothing. There are, in the prior slides you saw for the current structure of rates, we have summer rates where energy is more expensive. That begins on June 1st and runs through October 31st. And winter rates, that's 5 months. And then winter rates are in effect from November 1st to May 31st. Those winter rates are very low on the electricity side. The summer rates are higher to make up for that increased cost of energy in the summer. What we wanted to do is to make a more consistent bill payment for our customers is to look at increasing our summer rates less than our winter rates, so that have the lion's share of the increase in the winter, less of an increase in the summer, so it balances out, so you're not seeing this dramatic increase. I can't tell you how many times I've read recently where new customers in Oceanside and Vista, or actually they've only just begun serving load, or other new customers will say, my bill went up $200. It's because we launch every year that we've launched in these new customers in May, and the first bill they get is, or that it takes effect with our rates, is July, and it's really, those are just the summer rates. And the same thing would have happened if you'd been with SDG&E. It's just people just don't pay attention until they look at that bill. And so what we're trying to do is sort of level off that shock, if you will, of that dramatic increase. And that was something that was important to the board. Another key ingredient to setting our rates is meeting our covenants with JP Morgan. We have a line of credit with JP Morgan. They've been an excellent partner for us to provide credit backing. It's typical of every CCA to have that credit support at the beginning of a CCA. We have covenants that require us to meet certain debt service coverage, as well as days liquidity on hand covenants. That is key to us. Our covenants also say that we have to set rates to cover our costs. We also need to address cash flow needs to provide services and to be able to pay for our energy. We also have to meet our JPA directives, which is to increase the renewable energy content of our portfolio over time. Right now, our JPA says to hit by 2035, we're supposed to hit 100% renewable for all our customers. So that's a challenge, and as I mentioned, we're slowly increasing that ramp up to 2035. And then we have a board set policy of 5% reserves of our revenues, and then ultimately having a financial stability to get a credit rating so that when we go in the market to procure energy, we have, with counterparties, we have that credit backing and that credit rating so that counterparties will be confident with us. And then, of course, to remain competitive with SDG&E. So what the board looked at in its meeting in June, or May and June, was this smoothing out effect. And keep in mind, this is just on the generation side, a 30% increase in the winter and a 15% in the summer, or a 40% in the winter and a 10% in the summer. None of these go into effect until November of this year. And the board approved option 4, which, as I'll show you, you can see it right up there, had the lowest overall increase annualized over the year for customers of 5.2%. So what your customers are typically looking at is a 5.2% increase on an annual basis. Here you can see that borne out in terms of what our current winter total is, our current summer bill, and as you can see, that's typical. You see that jump from the current rates, 170 to 200. We're looking at an average year of about $192, which again equates to about a 5.2% annualized increase on a person's total energy bill, electricity bill. With that rate construct in place, the adopted budget, you see it here before you. You can see the change in net position just in 1 year with that higher winter rate results in a $33.3 million net change in net position. And in the out years, you can see that the change in net position, well, this doesn't have the out year except on the far right, you'll see the reserves keep pace with that as well. So that's our 5-year outlook. That's without any more rate changes. So that's another tidbit here, is that we're projecting out that we're, in the interest of rate stability, that it's not our intention to look at rate increases for the foreseeable future. And let me also preface this by saying, not preface, but now say that nobody likes the idea of increasing rates. I know you guys in your professional capacities here as this council have to make difficult decisions on things like sewer rates and some agencies' water rates, but nobody likes to do this. But based on our requirements to our credit backing entity, we have to do this. But the other benefit is that we have local programs, and that's another thing that the member agencies have expressed a desire for. We've recently rolled out a Solar Plus program. That means solar plus battery. It's a residential, single-family residential program where there is no upfront cost to the customer to get solar array on your roof with a battery. And the customer then has a fixed rate of cost of energy, so that really smooths out, and it actually just flattens your rate that you pay on an annual basis or a monthly basis. And then you defer the cost of the battery, at least you pay it on a monthly basis, and you get to use that battery to discharge that battery on peak demand days where you otherwise would need to be using a lot of your own energy from the grid. So really good for bill savings and also good for decreasing the energy demand during peak demand. CARE and FARA, those are programs that are, at least the CARE program is very widely used. Those are the rebates for lower income households. CARE, as you see, is a current 30% discount. FARA is an 18% discount. This is for income qualified households and individuals. Those programs carry on. They've been around in the IOU territories for many years, and those programs are still our customers are still eligible for. In fact, one of the programs we intend to work with SDG&E on is getting more enrollment in the FARA program. That's the family energy rebate program, so that there's really under-enrolled. There's a lot of households out there that are not enrolled in this, and our desire is to make sure that people are aware that they have this opportunity. And then, of course, you can opt down to the 50% renewable and save a little bit of money there for customers who'd like to do that. In Escondido, we are currently working, or have been working, with a coalition in Southern California on an equitable building decarbonization and direct install program. This would provide installations of energy efficiency, electricity-based appliances and other features in the home that would be at no cost. We've aligned with many agencies throughout Southern California to embark upon that program. We're sitting on the panel of the San Diego Regional Energy Network that's currently at the CPUC, the Public Utilities Commission, for final approval. It got tentative approval. It's being led by our community choice partner in the south areas, SDCP, as well as the county, and we're a member of that group to bring energy efficiency programs to customers throughout the county. And then as part of our just ongoing community engagement, we've been participating in various activities, 3 of which are listed here: the Downtown Business Association Street Festival, the County Farm Bureau, which has a strong presence from Escondido account holders, and then we're a member of the Chamber of Commerce and routinely interact with them. There are other programs that are of great assistance. I'm sorry this is dragging on, but I'll wrap it up pretty quickly, that customers should be made aware of. There's the Medical Baseline Allowance Program, which is, some of these are from SDG&E, but our customers are also eligible for. The Level Pay Plan, this is a tool that helps you automize your energy costs, both gas and electric, over a year. And then there's the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program that is a federal assistance program that is of great benefit, so encourage people to look into those. There's also the Neighbor to Neighbor program, which can provide $300 to people who have past due balances and help them to pay some of those costs if they're at risk of losing their connection. There's an arrearage management plan, which is a really good program. If you if you do have an arrearage, you can get up to $8,000 of relief. And if you want some detail on that, it's basically a program where if you agree to meet 1/12 of your cost per month for a full year, and you're not late for a full year, you can get the rest of your debt up to $8,000 eliminated. And so that's a program that you don't hear a lot about, but if customers are in that position, that's a great program. A couple else here, the Percentage of Income Payment Plan is a great program that sets a cap for electricity and gas charges on your bill. It's at capacity right now, but people can get on a wait list if they're interested. And anyone who wants to make a payment arrangement can contact SDG&E, and if they need to contact us, we can assist them as well. There's our customer service line. I'd like to introduce Caitlin McGee. She's one of our Key Accounts Program Managers. We've divided our 2 Key Accounts Program Managers among our territories. Caitlin is responsible for Escondido. She is very helpful, very knowledgeable, has a lot of experience in CCA, as well as working for CAISO, the California Independent System Operator that manages the grid for electricity in California. And she's happy to help anyone, whether it's detailed level of your bill that you want some help with, or some of these programs. So happy to answer questions. Sorry if I went on too long. And I would like to thank Deputy Mayor Garcia. During the board discussions, he was very adamant about looking at, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but looking at other ways in which we can benefit Escondido ratepayers, primarily because of that PCIA impact that you all are bearing right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time and for the presentation. I'll open it up to comments or questions from the council.
Yeah, I'll start. Well, thank you so much for the information and coming to present, because I know that this is something that utilities is a big concern that a lot of people have. With everything else, the rates are going up, so I think having the information is really helpful. So I know we discussed a rebate option for people in Escondido in order to address the PCIA. Can you speak to what the rebate is and what that discussion would look like? And I know that we haven't decided on anything, but that's something that we're looking forward to discuss.
Yeah, so appreciate the question, Deputy Mayor. So what that would look like potentially, and the CEA board has agreed to have this come back to our board for a discussion, is a way to, as perhaps a one-time rebate for customers that have been impacted by a higher PCIA, is to provide an actual rebate on their bill, on customers' bills, to say, okay, this is a rebate for the extra money you've paid over time for this PCIA. Now, other agencies, other member cities, are probably in that discussion going to look to say, okay, well, we've had customers that have been similarly impacted, so what that might look like is a percentage of impact rebate. So those with the greatest impact, we get the greatest rebate, and what we really want to do is bring this out equitably among our member agencies, and clearly, by looking at the statistics, Escondido's ratepayers would benefit the greatest, assuming the board is supportive of providing that rebate.
Thank you. And the second thing is, so I know that we've discussed the programs, as you mentioned before. Would you be able to send, well, two-part question is, one, would you be able to send that information to us in like a nice, neat pamphlet so that we could advertise it to our constituents? And the second question is, how has this been advertised? I know you mentioned, the Escondido Street Fair, but has there been, direct messages, calls, or anything else that the CEA has done in order to help to educate people on their options?
Yeah, thank you for that question as well. So we don't do any direct calling. We don't do any robocalling, but we do put out quite a bit of social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. We have a website that is actively updated on our media outreach. We put out press releases. And we've even done some direct mailing. We haven't done any direct mailing recently because most of it's been focused on our expansion in Oceanside and Vista, which is quite intensive. But we do plan to expand. We're actually going to be working with staff and bringing forward not only a marketing plan, but a work plan for the board to consider that shows how we might, with some budgeted program funds, be able to provide benefit to the community. So that we will get to you. The information, I can't recall if the question was, is this information going to be made available, or the information about the possible rebate program?
Well, for this information, if you could send us like a nice pamphlet or some kind of something that we'd be able to give to our constituents to share with on social media or in person when people are calling about the utilities, I think that'd be really helpful for the five of us.
We can do that.
And other than that, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Couple of quick questions. First of all, I'd like to thank Deputy Mayor Garcia for his work and his efforts to help bring about, I think, which was the proposal that was approved by everyone for the best smoothing option for the citizens of Escondido. Can we go back to the very first slide? I think it was the one that showed what percentage of the Escondido residents are participating. There you go. So those numbers are outstanding. They're really high. But just so everyone's aware, that's because, unbeknownst to at least this council member at the time that this was adopted, is that you didn't have the option to join in and use this source of energy if that's what you wanted. It was mandated that you had to join no matter what, and then you had to physically opt out to go or to stay with SDG&E. So this basically says that a little over 5% of the people went through the process of opting out to stick with SDG&E, correct?
That's correct,
Okay.
yes.
All right, thank you. The subsidized programs, the rebates, the debt forgiveness, et cetera, where do those funds come from that go to those individuals? Is it coming from other ratepayers who are just making up the difference?
It's coming from all ratepayers, yes. So it's coming from all ratepayers.
So those who pay are subsidizing for those who aren't paying, correct?
Potentially, if that's what the board chooses to do.
Okay, all right. That's for the rebates. What about for the debt forgiveness? In
The
other
debt
words,
forgiveness, that program is on an SDG&E program, and I
Okay.
believe that one thing I should have underscored is we're a nonprofit, so we don't have shareholders to respond to, but how they fund those, there are buckets of money that are state-driven on every bill, and so they could be using those funds. I can't speak too educatedly on where those funding sources are for SDG&E.
okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much for your time and
Thank
for the
you.
presentation.
Thank you.
Up next is the North County Transit District.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. It's very much a privilege to be here this evening. Just kind of want to talk a little bit about where we are as an organization, kind of where we're going, and some things that are very specific to the city. From an overview perspective, we got a lot going on all the way across the district. Really a lot of good projects. I think one of the things that we really talked about in the time that I've been there, and I'm working on month number 5 right now, so not quite out of probation just yet, but I've been very specific about the things that we really want to attack from an agency perspective and how we can really help out not only the cities but the county, and really kind of work in collaboration on things that maybe aren't even transit projects. And I think you'll see a little bit of that in some of the presentation that for us, I think we want to be more than a public transportation organization, and I think for us that requires us to get back out into the communities and really have conversations about things that impact our communities that may not necessarily have anything to do with NCTD. We want to use our organization to be able to promote projects that cities have that may be beneficial to the citizens that don't necessarily fall within our jurisdiction but have good outcomes that we could build off of later. One of the things we kind of built off of that is what we call our North Star. It kind of, historically from a project perspective or from a strategic priorities perspective, the agency has been very specific about either project-related strategic priorities or things that are probably a little bit too ultra-specific. What we really wanted was sort of a guiding light of 5 principles that sort of exist within the framework of all of the things that we do organizationally. And so we kind of rolled those into 5 things: world-class customer experience, safety and security, fiscal duty, equity, environmental and economic justice, community and governmental stewardship in our team. And I won't go into them too much, just kind of give you an idea of a couple pieces of each one of those. For us specifically, a world-class experience is ridership. It's the things that we offer to the community. How do we grow that customer experience? Specifically for the city, there's about 17 routes within our district that either touch the city or feed the city. The one thing that I think is very positive to note is all of those routes showed ridership improvement over the past year, which I think speaks volumes to the necessity for public transit within the city. The main routes that we have that yield the most ridership were anywhere between 10 and 20% increase in ridership year over year. So we want to continue that trend. One of the things that you'll see if you look at our budget that was just approved by our board is a push to add more security and more work with our sheriff's team. Specifically, one of the things that we've done is we've had a lot of conversations about the Escondido Transit Center, really what we want from a safety and security standpoint from that. One of my initiatives right out of the gate was to come here with our facilities team and have a conversation about lighting, signage that's at the property. And one of the things that we're working on right now is we're putting in a static security and sheriff's team presence on the platform. We increased our budget from a security standpoint to try to have security on the platform for the 22 hours that we're in operation at that facility. We want people to feel safe at that location. It's clearly a driver of ridership for us, so we want to make sure that we're doing the best that we can on that. From a train perspective, there's a lot of energy going on right now with the Sprinter Corridor as well as Coaster Corridor, so work on positive train control throughout those corridors and additional security is a big deal for us. On the fiscal duty side, we're a public agency. I think it's a requirement for us in all facets of our business to be very transparent and share with the community the things that we want to push forward with. One of the things that we're working on is trying to find additional funding sources that will help push us to the next level, especially as we kind of talk about access to the Youth Opportunity Pass, fare zones that exist along the Coaster Corridor. I think one of the things that can be a barrier occasionally to transit is when the fare system is a little bit confusing between the 2 rail lines or the bus system. We want to try to bring that into one specific item. Youth Opportunity Pass has been very successful for us. I've been fortunate that this is the second agency I worked at where we had a Youth Opportunity Pass. To me, that really showed itself during COVID in the sense that children were able to utilize the Youth Opportunity Pass to get to breakfast and lunch that they needed, that they would not have had access to with the schools closed. So for me, it's getting youth to the schools. They get used to riding the service. They'll use it when they're in college, and then they'll use it when they're in the professional workforce. So we want to continue to push that. One thing that we have a lot of conversation about is our relationship with Sandag, the MPO. How do we specifically want to maybe navigate differently than we have historically on how we work with them on projects? Part of that for me is we have a lot of conversation at the Transportation Committee level with Sandag and with Sandag as a whole about North County. And the reality is I don't think North County gets the due that it should on all projects that exist within the MPO realm. And so for the transit agency, part of that for us is we can't even do things as small as a corridor study without involving the MPO. We really don't think that's a useful utilization of not only our dollars, but the work that they're doing, the work that we're doing. We should be able to do that on our own. So we're looking at all of those things as well. On the equity, environmental, and economic justice side, that's a big piece for us. We've had a lot of conversation, and Lillian will talk a little bit about it as well. How we manage land use as it relates to its proximity to transit centers. I think the goal for us, and I've seen it happen in transit projects in years past, is we have a great idea for the general public to utilize public transportation, and then it either gentrifies a neighborhood or increases the cost where it's unaffordable for transit users. And that's an unacceptable utilization of the land for us. I think when we talk about some of these projects that we're working on all across the cities that we have, we're very thoughtful and very careful about the things that we want developed on the land adjacent or near the transit stations. We're just very particular about that. We want to make sure that everybody has sort of an equal shot at making sure that they're close to proximity of the transit. We're continuing our work on bluff erosion mitigation. Right now we're in Delmar Bluff 5 in conjunction with Sandag stabilization, so we're going to continue to focus on that. For us specifically in this category, public transit for us sort of revolves around three different things, and that's jobs, education, and really access to health care. Now what you're seeing is as the cost of living goes up, people are not able to age in place, and they're not able to manage healthcare or access to quality of life items because they're not able to take public transit to the location that they need to get those services. And so we want to try to make sure that not only we expand in a proper way as we continue to grow in North County, but that also we're focusing our energy on making sure that public transit and affordability is available along the transit lines that exist now. So we're going to continue to do that as well. Community and government stewardship. I think for us, it's all about relationships. Again, it kind of goes back to the opening comment about we want to be more than a transit system. We want to help be a force for projects that exist for cities that reside in North County as well, and we want to continue to do that. And we have an excellent relationship with our friends at the Federal Railroad Administration, Federal Transit Administration, DOT, and I think our elected officials around the region as well, and we want to continue to make sure we maintain those relationships. And one piece of that, which is a big deal for us, is how the low sand corridor is managed all the way probably up to Anaheim. I think we really want to think about our relationship as it exists to being an owner of the railroad. That's sort of an anomaly in our business. Most public transit agencies lease space from either Class 1 railroads or states, municipalities. We actually own the railroad in the Escondido subdivision, and we own the railroad in the San Diego subdivision. And that is not something that's super common in our business. So we're sort of in the reverse piece where Amtrak, Metrolink, all these entities, BNSF, they come to us, they lease from us, we don't lease from them. So our responsibility as it relates to STRACnet and national security, how we manage freight movement throughout the corridor. So it's much bigger than public transit for us. We want to be involved in really the economic development of the region. We want to make sure it's strong. And so how we manage that whole corridor is a giant deal for us. The last piece, and I'll just touch on real quickly, is our team. I think a lot of agencies sort of make the mistake of they have these great grandiose goals as an agency, but they forget about how that impacts their employees and how that impacts their teams. And we want to make an equal commitment as well, that for the energy that we're going to give to our customers and the energy that we're going to give to all of our constituents, we want to make sure that our team has those resources as well. So that's a big piece for us. Projects and initiatives. We're working on Sprinter signal optimization and Sprinter double tracking. We recently just received grants on both of those, so we're looking forward to not only working on the signal optimization along the Sprinter line, but also as much double tracking as we can. Zero emission bus transition, we recently just launched our electric vehicles into service. Those reside out of our East Division, which is here in Escondido. They're on most, they sort of circle in and out of a fair majority of the 17 routes that touch the city, so we're pretty excited about that. We do have some hydrogen vehicles that are sitting at our west facility right now. We're waiting on groundbreaking and completion of our hydrogen fueling station. And then transit-oriented development, which is a big deal for us. We have a lot of projects going on, and we'll touch on some of those here in a minute. From a service perspective, we always kind of like to show this map. It's a little bit of everything, but I think the reason that this map is important is because there is tons of opportunity, I think, not only within the city limits, but the bus lines that are sort of connected to that. There is a lot of healthcare opportunity, access to education, access to jobs, and that's what we really want to continue. I mean, it's clear along the Sprinter corridor for us that it's a good lifeline link. I think there's a good, robust offering of jobs, other types of activities along that line that feed public transit, but also keep things moving in the right direction. And so very much appreciate that. On the zero emission bus piece, which we already touched on, we received quite a bit of project funding for that. Right now we're in the midst of trying to figure out what the long-term solution for that is, especially as we transition to zero emission on our rail. Sprinter vehicles for us have been a little bit of an issue. We have a sort of a one-off, one-of-a-kind in the world rail vehicle, and that has been very difficult for us to get parts at times, and has impacted some of our service occasionally. We have aggressively turned up trying to find funding to replace the vehicles along that line, but if we do that, we want to make sure that we're being very aware of the state's requirements as it relates to zero emissions. So are we going to go electric? Are we going to go hydrogen? Those are the things we're kind of pushing into right now. And I am going to turn it over to Lillian.
Good evening. In 2016, the NCTD Board of Directors adopted Board Policy 33, Joint Use and Development of Real Property. This created a framework for which NCTD staff could bring forward the vision of transit-oriented development. And by that I mean bringing mixed-use developments near to, or in our case, immediately adjacent to transit centers, bringing amenities, uses, and community benefits. By placing residents, jobs, and amenities immediately adjacent to transit services, we make it easier to choose transit. We support thriving communities, and we believe that TOD will reduce commute times and promote healthier lifestyles. It will provide the option of reducing the economic burden of owning a car and activate spaces that are currently underutilized. Within the vision of delivering transit in a new way, as alluded to by our CEO, Sean Donahue, we look to a more community-centered approach with a regional vision. As an organization, we have identified and prioritized 11 sites in 5 cities throughout the region. Through this portfolio, we will provide connection between communities and envision a transformation from being a departure point to a destination. The Escondido Transit Center represents a significant opportunity. As the easternmost terminus of our Sprinter hybrid rail corridor that Sean described, the site is our largest site, with nearly 13 acres of developable land. It provides a connection point to the city's historic downtown area, access to the inland rail trail, and a gateway to other North County communities, as well as the region at large. We know that there will be interest in this project, so our development team has developed a website to provide up-to-date information on this project as we go through this process. Our project objectives prioritize transit improvements, and we support regional goals related to alternative modes of transportation. But we also hope to create a long-term revenue stream that will allow us to continue to invest in key transit projects. We also want to align with cities' goals to connect to the downtown area, to make it more walkable, and to maintain a high-quality design that aligns with the city's historic character and the feel of the community. When we released our request for proposals for the Escondido Transit Center in October 2022, we identified a number of requirements, but these are the minimum requirements necessary to ensure that the transit services we currently provide are not only going to be able to continue, but to be able to be future-proofed for future generations that will also rely on these services. Following a competitive process and upon the recommendation of a source selection committee, the NCTD Board of Directors approved NCTD staff to enter into an exclusive negotiating agreement with Waterford Properties and Toll Brothers Apartment Living for the redevelopment of the Escondido Transit Center. An agreement was signed in February of 2024, after which the development team met with city staff to discuss opportunities to activate and enhance the Escondido Transit Center. The site evolved to include more opportunities for gathering and improved circulation. This image shows the original shows a diagram for the relocated transit features, as well as a mixed use of elements for the reimagined transit center. But we don't want to stop there. We want to continue this evolution. And early public input is key to ensuring that the future Escondido Transit Center is deliberative about public input, that we're able to take it and include it as we further design in this project. So we have developed this survey that is available through this QR code and this link that will be available at ESCO Transit and our NCTD website. It will also be physically available via QR code on A-frames at our Escondido Transit Center and immediately adjacent bus stops in the local area. It will be available through August for input from Escondido citizens, visitors, and business owners. So where are we in this process? We are in the due diligence phase, very early in this process. Our team is doing initial analysis of the site to identify what's possible. From there, we will move into planning and design, and eventually entitlement, which will go through the city's planning department. And finally, construction. In addition to that, NCTD has a vision. It partnered in 2022 with the city through a memorandum of understanding to analyze the potential for land swap. Both the city and NCTD have significant land holdings immediately adjacent to Escondido Transit Center. We saw that opportunity. And in November of the same year, we received $240,000 to undertake a study that would allow us to plan how a land swap could create opportunities to optimize land use, create more active corridors, and improve connection around the Escondido Transit Center. This planning effort is underway, and we have sincerely appreciated the partnership with city staff, as well as their vision. We anticipate that the study will be completed at the end of this year and available for city council review. Before I conclude, I just want to once more plug this survey. Public input is so important, and through any of these means, you can reach us. We want to be available. And with that, I wish to conclude and ask whether there are any questions for us. Oh, sorry.
Thank you both for your time and for the presentation. I'll open it up to questions and comments from the council, if there are any.
Hi there, nice to meet you. Thank you for the presentation. Really exciting things that you're working on, and I just really appreciate the work and the North Star that you mentioned. Just a question. You mentioned something about the security, and I do know in the past through our representative at the time, I have had concerns about security in the bathrooms. How I haven't heard any recent complaints, so I'm assuming things are getting better, but in this survey that you're doing on the reimagining of the site, is this solely on the reimagining of the site, or is this also an opportunity for the public and folks who ride NCTD to provide input maybe on security, on like the customer service, part of that North Star that you were talking about?
Yeah, I think the survey covers all of that. It may not necessarily be specifically stated in the survey itself, but what we want is that information that is really needed about if we were going to reimagine what that transit center looks like, what are safety and security features that are for someone who would be there later at night or early in the morning, what are things that are currently a roadblock for them or a concern for our citizens that we would want to address through the redevelopment. I think that's a big deal for us. You know, we're going to try to do everything we can to mitigate a fair amount of that right out the gate right now with the transit center that exists. But we want that information to be able to pass along as we really start to nail down what the transit portion of that redevelopment looks like, because we want to make sure that there's a good security and safety presence, not only when we redevelop, but today as well.
Got it. And can you speak to, and I know you're only 5 months in, so this was actually prior to you joining. I know at the time we had a partnership between the sheriffs and EPD. Is it only sheriffs now, or is EPD still involved, like, in the security at NCTD?
Yeah, so one of the things that we sort of recognized right out the gate was we needed to invest a little more energy into the security piece. What we want is really that presence on the platform, and that's not to say that EPD or the San Diego County Sheriff's doesn't do that. We sort of do random patrols at a lot of our transit centers, but for us it was more about that static presence on the property. So we shifted some money out of our budget, right around $500,000 to $750,000 to focus energy specifically on Vista, OTC, and Escondido, because those are sort of our major points in the evenings of passengers getting on off. We wanted to make sure we had a pretty robust roaming on the platform transit security presence. We still do work with both San Diego County Sheriff's Office. We have a contract with them, and we probably don't do as much work with EPD as we used to, but they're very responsive every time we have an issue out here. And I really want to make sure that we thank all of our law enforcement partners who help us out. They do an absolutely phenomenal job when we need them, and I know our operators are very thankful and reliant on the help that they give when we do need it. I think for us, it's that security presence, that if we have security walking around the platform and trying to address some of the smaller issues, the bigger ones probably won't sort of creep into the equation. But we still have the ability to call both the Sheriff's Office and EPD.
Thank you. I appreciate that update. So it looks like you do have security now. And one of the issues was, being able to safely use the restrooms and making sure that, they were available to riders. So I'm happy to see that that's a change, and this new approach that you are using now. And it's been months since I've heard that complaint. So I will also be sure to share this survey with folks that I know ride the bus and use the Sprinter. So I really appreciate you coming to share this information, and I will do my part to engage our community on this as well.
Yeah, the lighting's a big piece of that as well. One of the things I picked up on right away, when I interviewed for the job, a very wise council member asked me to come out and walk the transit center later in the evening. And the one thing I noticed really quickly was we have some old lights out there, and not that they're not in disrepair or anything like that. They just don't light the area up like we think they should. And so we came out with our facilities team and did a full sort of reimagining of what we want the current transit center to look like. And so we're going to invest some pretty good effort into making sure that we have high visibility LED lighting.
Great.
We want the whole platform lit. There's a building that actually exists on that property right now that we have had some conversation with that tenant to move on, and what we really want is a full security and sheriff's, like sort of a mini depot presence there, so that if someone has an issue, that we have someone right there on the property in that building that can help them out.
That's a good idea. Thank you. I appreciate the information.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm currently the representative for the City of Escondido on NCTD board, and I have raised the issue of security on the platform and at other transit centers. And I go fairly regularly to just go and sit out there, talk to the riders, staff. I interact with them. And what I'm hearing is that they begin to see and to feel the difference. So I do want to acknowledge the fact that those changes that are beginning to come about are making an impact. They're making a difference. The presence at the transit center is much cleaner. I was there on Sunday. ready to ride take a ride on the Sprinter, but unfortunately decided to break down again. But I ran into staff cleaning, and they were wonderful, explained to me what they were doing, and asked questions. It was a great experience that I'm having, just hanging around there, and it's making an impact. So thank you for your leadership. And that was one of the questions that I posed when we did interview you, and you said you would get on it, and you have, and worked with the team. So thank you. It is making a difference. I look forward to the changes coming.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And also, thank you very much for your leadership on the board. We really do have a fantastic board of directors. You know, everybody has competing interests in the different things they want to see, but I'm always very appreciative of our board. And I thank you very much for your service on that. You know, we want our board to be able to tell us when things just don't seem right and what they're hearing from their community, so that we can jump right on it. And I know we've had some pretty honest and frank conversations, and I appreciate that so much, because we can get right on it as soon as we know what's going on. So thank you for the words.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on now to public comments. Do we have any?
None.
Okay. Then that brings us to the consent calendar. Items on consent are approved in a single motion. Items 1 through 14 are on consent. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve items 1 through 14 on consent, and I have a second. Please open the voting.
Voting is open.
You made it.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. On to current business. Item 15 is a resolution in opposition to Assembly Bill 3093. Are you taking the lead on this one?
We good to go?
Yep.
All right. So I serve on the California Cities San Diego division, and this has been something that we've been discussing for quite some time. And I do appreciate everything that the California Cities San Diego division does. You know, it's a bipartisan. We work really well together, and I think we all understand the common issues and the common struggles that we have from city to city, despite, you know, the makeup of whatever council it is. So this is something that I think that has been fairly unanimous. The AB 3093 is an assembly bill that is at the state right now, and it's being considered. And what it does is it adds new requirements for RENA. It reduces local control. And the issue with this is that it establishes new criteria. It adds 2 new categories, and those 2 categories are acutely low and extremely low. And so what that would require is it would require that the cities to add those 2 new categories and then add new housing for them. As we all know, RENA is already extremely difficult to meet. It's unrealistic what the cities are expected to do. But the other issue is that the extremely low and acutely low already fall under one of our categories, which is very low income. So the other issue that we're seeing right now that the Cal Cities has is that it would not actually, that the state is actually not providing extra funding for this. In fact, it's actually looking to cut funding. So not only is this an extra burden, financial burden for the cities and the taxpayers, but it is, but there's not extra support on this. Not only that, it adds bureaucratic issues because it's duplicative work. The processes that we already have right now are already in place in order to address RENA numbers, and what this would do is add a whole extra layer in order to add 2 new categories, like I said, but it also is just going to be extra work for us to do in order to address exactly how it would be. There's the other issue is that there wasn't any local input. The people that drafted the bill did not communicate with California cities, as far as I know. There wasn't any type of community input. There was no type of city input, and there was no county input, at least not on the San Diego level. And that's pretty surprising because one of the authors is actually in the region. So that was really concerning for me too, considering that there was just a lack of input. This was introduced May 6th. It's coming back, I believe, in August, and the California League of Cities is suggesting and recommending that cities write a letter in opposition to this. So That's my resolution, and yes, sir.
Quick question, is this a Blake Spear?
Yes, sir. It's Blake Spear and
Ward.
Ward. Thank you. Yes, Chris Ward. So, and that's it for me.
I'll keep my comments brief and just say that I'm fully supportive of this. So thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I was a rep on the League of Cities for several years and served on the policy committees. So I know that there's a lot of thoughtfulness when it comes to analyzing bills, and so I will support the resolution, and I appreciate that it's opposed unless amended, right? That it gives an opportunity to like change it. And what you said, Deputy Mayor, it's redundant, it's added bureaucracy. It's a financial burden. It doesn't help bring more housing. It doesn't help fund more affordable housing. So it just creates more bureaucracy. So for that reason, I support the resolution for oppose unless amended position. And I would sign.
I do apologize. Yes, you're correct. The part of it is the California, the San Diego division does say unless amended in order to.
And so we would do that as well, right? Oppose unless amended, right?
I think this is as it stands right now. Yes.
Okay, great. 'Cause I would support that.
Again, as well, respect the League of Cities. They don't always come out and strongly oppose something. They're strongly opposing this. I think that we are wise to get on board with this resolution. And unfortunately, Senator Blake Spear is trying to cram everything possible down throughout the entire state of California that may work or has worked in some very small restricted communities, but it's not. These are not statewide programs that are healthy for the state of California, nor Escondido.
After reviewing pertinent materials to this, I feel that it's appropriate that we go ahead and approve the resolution.
Do you want to make the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is that you making the motion? Okay,
I'll
perfect.
make the motion. Yes.
Please open the voting.
Voting is open. Motion approved, 5-0.
Awesome. Anybody have anything they need to add to a future agenda? No. Okay, cool. Moving on to council members, subcommittee reports, and other reports. Start with Councilmember Marasco.
Real brief. Most of the week has just been a variety of meetings, correspondence, interactions with proponents, businesses, residents, with a wide variety of different issues, concerns, and I just want to say that from my perspective, just kudos to staff at every level who work so diligently, who truly spend their time, their energy, their efforts to find solutions and resolve and or provide information or to do anything possible to assist with all these different interactions. Full spectrum of requests, some very, very detailed and complicated, others very simplistic, and staff always rises to the occasion. And I just want to say thank you, Chris, and if you could share that with everyone else, how appreciative I am of the great job everyone is doing.
I have just some brief comments to make. I want to do a shout out for the Park Avenue Community Center. Yesterday was my regularly scheduled volunteer time. And I heard over and over and over again from those receiving the meals, and particularly the senior meal program. The seniors were talking to me and telling me how wonderful, caring, committed the staff is. And I had heard that before, but Chris, I must say that it was exceptional what they were talking about. So I just want to give a shout out to staff at the Park Avenue Community Center, particularly those running the senior meal program. Those seniors are so thankful for the hard work that our staff does there. So shout out to them. Thank you. Thumbs up. Keep up the good work.
On Monday, we had an Economic Development Subcommittee meeting where we went over the ag tech feasibility study and expect to see that the results of that come to council in the next couple of months, which is very exciting. We also went over the short-term vacation rental ordinance that'll be coming to council very soon. We've asked for one more stop in the subcommittee before it does come back to the council. And what was the other thing we talked about? There was one other one we touched on briefly.
Vacant building.
The vacancy
Vacancy ordinance, that's correct. An ordinance to regulate vacant commercial properties, including buildings and lots, that we're still working out, but it'll come to council, I'm assuming, in the next couple of months as well. Over the weekend, I had the opportunity to attend the Miss National Extraordinaire pageant, which is a pageant for women with special needs, and it was a phenomenal experience. The woman who puts that on does a fantastic job. I'll be having the winners come in at the August 7th council meeting for certificates of recognition. There was also the Street Life exhibit at the Municipal Gallery and the Escondido Art Association's open house. And that concludes my report.
Right. As always, I'll make this brief actually, but as always, we just speaking with constituents, meeting with people who have concerns about stuff that's happening in the community. But I think a lot of the community is feeling good about what the city's doing, what the staff's doing, what our law enforcement and everything's doing. So thank you all. And as always, thank you to my community for the privilege of serving you. That's it.
Everyone. So in case you didn't know, the free little library at Washington Park went missing. It was stolen, and it was missing for a few months, and I'm happy that we found it. And tomorrow, July 18th, I'm sad that I will not be able to be there, but from 11 to 1:30, it will be the reintroduction of the free little library at Washington Park. It's gonna, they're also having an event, so it's a celebratory event called Pages in the Park. And so it says, join us for an unforgettable celebration of reading and storytelling. There will be booked themed crafts and activities, health and wellness resources for children and families, and opportunity drawing, and snacks and drinks will be provided. And feel free to bring your favorite book. So again, that's at Washington Park tomorrow, July 18th, from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. and that's at 501 North Rose Street. Also, the Legal Aid Society of San Diego is someone that we contract with for fair housing and tenant rights. They're currently undergoing a focus group survey where they want to know how the Legal Aid Society can better serve and improve their legal services and make them more easier to find and use. And so I will share on my social media the survey, and then if folks want to be in part of their focus groups, they can also participate in that. And that will be in English and Spanish. On Friday, I have a San Diego River Park Joint Powers Authority meeting, so I'll report on that next time you see me. And since our next council meeting is August 7th, I want to say save the date for National Night Out. It's Tuesday, August 6th from 5 to 8 p.m. And it looks like this time they're having it at Grape Day Park, which I think that's great because having it at the East Valley Community Center on the Blacktop got really hot. It'll still be hot, and you can get your free cooling towels there at that event. Education Compact will have cooling towels available, and that's always a great event. And then I just want to close. I got really sad news today. The interim chairwoman of the San Diego County Democratic Party passed away tragically in a motorcycle accident. And so I just want to send my love to all who knew her and just my condolences for this huge loss in our region. Thank you.
City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything further to add except to direct residents to our website, escondido.gov, where they can find the City Manager's weekly activity report. And thank you, Councilmember, for plugging National Night Out.
Okay, any public comments?
None.
We are adjourned.